Yes, we're on Yud Aleph Omid Aleph. We spoke about all. Do you remember the power of the mothers? Really, they didn't want the mothers. We're going to talk a little bit more about that because very relevant, actually, as we're approaching Purim on Yud Aleph Omid Aleph. And the point is, this klola, no, it wasn't the words that they were saying, the mothers were saying, because the mothers of whom? A mother of the Kohen Gadol, because of course the Kohen Gadol would stay in Ori Miklot until the Kohen Gadol died. And we said, yeah, they were to blame in some way, but it's this power of tefillah. The power of tefillah, or the power of words generally. I mean, the Mishnah was talking about tefillah, but it's the power of words. And let's pick that up. 4, 5, 6, 7, about 9 lines up. Omar Rab Yehuda Omar Rav. Kilelas Chochom. This is more statements about the power of speech. And if one said something negative from a chacham, a wise person, in other words, if something comes out, afilu b'chinom, as we'll see, in other words, a curse or words coming, the power of speech coming from a chacham, afilu b'chinom hi bo'o, can happen even if it is b'chinom, which means, as we'll see, occasion when it wasn't really deserved, as we'll see. Nevertheless, do watch out. It's the power of the Chacham. And of course, this is on the negative, the same on the positive. We found the power of tefillah, people going and getting brachas from the great sages, great pious people. That connection, it's of course, that singles out humanity, really, from everybody else. Vayipach ba'apav ruach mamalalo. Is a translate. In other words, is speech which singles us out. You can get some of the animals to talk. You've got the parrots, etc. They're just like copying the sounds. It's not really speech, but it's the speech which singles us out. Look at this example. Have you got the beginning line? Is he bo'o minolon? Where do we learn that principle from? That watch out for the speech and even something negative coming from a chacham, because it, as we see here, afilu b'chinom hu bo'o, it actually comes to pass, if you like, from Achitophel. Who was Achitophel? Achitophel was one of the advisors of David HaMelech, a great sage, an advisor of David HaMelech. Yes, let's have a look here. Shebesho'o shekoro David shisin. This was right at the beginning where David HaMelech was digging the initial foundations, really. I mean, obviously he was the first one, as we find that not quite the foundation stones before they take this further. And there we were talking about building. Now, of course, the actual Beis HaMikdash was in the time of got Simon with us. Yeah. Hello there. Good to see you. We're on Daf Yud Aleph Omid Aleph, about 9 lines up from the base. Yud Aleph Omid Aleph. We're talking about Achitophel. And at the time, have you got to begin line is he? But we're learning this from Achitophel, the power of speech, even negative speech, particularly the pious individual, the power that he has, or she has even in speech, is worth considering. Look at this. Shebesho shekoro David shisin. What was he doing? As Rashi tells us, he was building the Yesodo Shel Beis HaMikdash. In fact, the Beis HaMikdash, long story there, Ubigmoros Yerushalmi Motzinon Timulios Shel Beis HaMikdash Hu Yesod B'Loshen Yevoni. This is really what we're talking about here. It was the foundations of the Beis HaMikdash, which, of course, his son Shlomo HaMelech would be building the whole structure, but he was involved in the foundations. Now, when he was doing that, Kofar to Homer, wow, Kofar to Homer, and Ba Mishta for La Alma. What's all that about? Says when he was building or digging the foundations, Kofar to Homer, the depths, the Tahim rose. Ba, Mervin, good to see you. Ba le Mishta for La Alma, about to flood Shetef, like to flood the world. We're in the bottom of Daf Yud Aleph, towards the end of Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. And they were about to flood. There was a flood coming from below, about to, as we say, le Mishta for Alma, as he could see. Omar. And he said, and of course he had his, one of his advisors, advisor in front of him. There was Achitophel. And he said, Mahu, what is the rule? Lichtov Shem Achaspo. Writing the shame, the name of Hashem, Achaspo. Normally, Chaspo is earthenware. Ule Mishta Bishoima. Could I do this with this name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, written, Bikdusha? Would that have the power to stop this flood? And of course, it's exactly at the place where the Beis Hamikdash was going to be built. Crucial place. Everything coming from the Beis Hamikdash. So he was keen to, or thinking about, throwing a piece of earthenware with the name of Hashem on it, and of course that would sink. Ma'u lemishtaba shem achaspo umishta b'tahoma, throwing it into the depth, the tahom. Deleiku aduchte, leiku, that it would stay in. Aduchte is a place, so that the water would stay in their place, not rise any further. Okay. Okay, right. So, Leka de Omale Mida. Clearly, he was referring to Achitophel. He didn't want to paskin in front of his teacher, in front of his advisor at that point. So he says, anybody who knows, can I do that or not? This will stop the raging, the flood. Leka de Omale Midi. There was no one who said anything. Nobody answered at all. Obviously, considering whether he should or shouldn't do this, there was nobody that answered immediately. Leka de Omale Midi. Omar, he made the following statement. Have a look at Rashi about Omi Shori Lemicht of Shame. Ma'u Lemicht of Shame. Have you got the Rashi there on the outside? Rashi on both sides, inside and outside. Mi Shori Lemicht of Shame. Pem Yimchikuhu. What's the problem about throwing the name of Hashem? It could get blotted out. It could get rubbed out as he throws it into the depths. Look at Rashi. Pen Yimchoku. It will get rubbed out. The name, the letters. The mayim, the water would do that. V'oive mishum v'ibadatem es shemom. One is not allowed to destroy. V'lo sarsun kain. It says there, when you're coming into Eretz Yisrael, all the avodah zorahs need to be destroyed. But the pasuk continues, says, "V'lo sarsun kain l'Hashem Elokechem." Do not rub out the name of Hashem, as opposed to the avodah zorahs that you find, any avodah zorah there in Eretz Yisrael. V'ibadatem es shemom, that you should do, but do not do that lo sa'asun kain. So that's the concern. Can he take that into account? Maybe there's another way to stop the water, but is that one of the acceptable ways of taking this further. So Achitophel, nobody answered. Then he said the following: Omar, Kol hayodea dovozeh, anyone who knows the answer to this, va'einoi omroi, and doesn't say so, yechonik bigroinoi. Of course, the yechonik from Chanika. Chanikos be strangled. Bigroinoi, because after all this, the raging, the water that would be rising, there'd be. So this is, if somebody doesn't know the answer to this, yechonik bigroinoi. Now, what he may have meant is yechonik bigroino, they will all get strangled, the death of the water that's coming up, but that is what he said. So anybody knows the answer? If they're not going to be eino omrim yechonik bigroino. As I say, that could just be the natural the natural event that would occur if a person wouldn't reply. Now, nosa achitophel kavachomer ba'atzmai. Achitophel said, I've got a kal v'chomer. A kal v'chomer, when we've got one rule, and then we compare it to something else like a certainly in the second, a kal, lighter, and chomer, more severe. In other words, we're learning one halacha, saying if it's applicable in A, B is more severe, it certainly will apply in B, or more strict, if you like. What was this kal v'chomer? Right? Omar, he said, Uma la'asos shalom bein ish le'ishtoi. We'll have a look about this in a second. Making peace between ish ve'ishtoi. Omro ha'torah shemi shenichtav b'kedusha. My name, this is Hashem speaking. We'll have a look at the Rashi in a moment. Yimoche al hamayim, can be blotted out, or certainly thrown in the water. Letters could be blotted out as they're thrown in the water. And that's to make shalom bein ish le'ishtoi. What is this referring to? Have a look at Rashi where it says Yimoche al hamayim.
Amen.
Have a look, please, at the Rashi. It's on the outside, it's about 12 lines up. Dichsiv, in the Parsha of Asota. The Parsha of Asota, where this wife is suspected of having relations with someone else. She was warned, don't get secluded with this individual. And she actually is secluded with this individual. But there are no witnesses there. Nobody knows. Did anything further go on? Was there a relationship? Was there not? So the rule is that yes, there are witnesses that she was secluded with this individual and she'd been warned not to. So what happens to prove her innocence? What happens is water is taken from the Shiur in the Beis Hamikdash. The name of Hashem is dropped inside and in fact is blotted out in this water. Look at Rashi. Umocho el mei ha'ma'orim. That's one of the psukim regarding the Sota. This is someone who's warned, but nevertheless we don't know what's happened. Nobody knows. And the pasuk says it is rubbed out. Umocho dropped this name of Hashem. That whole parsha, actually, it's a parsha that's mentioned there in Bamidbar about what has to happen and how the Kohen writes all this down on a parchment and then drops it in. That's all written in the Torah, and that parchment itself is dropped into the water. And continues Rashi, Umocho el mei hamorim. That's the pasuk in Bamidbar. Actually, you might as well pick it up, please, if you've got a chance, Peter. Bamidbar 5:23. This is the Parsha Bamidbar, which says, hey, it's 5:23 in Bamidbar. Let's have a quick look at that. If you can manage it. Bamidbar 5:23 coming up. Let's have a look at that pasuk. Here we are. Thank you, Peter. 5:23. V'chosov es ha'olo Yisrael hakem sefer u'mochal me'amorim. And their previous psukim, and it goes. All this is written. What's going to happen to the water if, in fact, it's true, or hopefully not true, but if it is that you did have a relationship with this individual, then this water will act. So are you happy to do this? And the woman says, Amen, Amen. Yes, I'm happy to drink this water, whatever the repercussions, because it's okay. I am actually not guilty. Yes, it's true. I was secluded with this individual, but it was just a seclusion, talking to him, nothing more. And the earlier psukim all meant there is a name, because of as well as the name of Hashem occurs in the earlier psukim, as Rashi tells us here. Let's go back to Lemorim. They're going to act as bitter for her if, in fact, she is not innocent. Now, back to Rashi. There's your mocha el mei hamorim, and you're going to rub off this whole parsha, and in this parsha, you've got the name of Hashem mentioned. Thank you, Peter. Let's go back to our Rashi. Vaharbe Hazkoros, from Zeicher, Harbe Hazkoros Parsha. It's quite a few times the name of Hashem is mentioned in this parsha, which is going to put into the water and going to be the putting it in the water and expecting the letters to be rubbed off. Even though it's not just a parsha without the name of Hashem, you've got the name of Hashem there as well. The pasuk says umocha, full stop. So Achitophel says, why does Hashem allow his name? Getting an invite from me now. And just in case, we're saying, to prove the innocence of this lady, hopefully the innocence, she's going to drink this water. If it's fine and she is fine, then she is innocent. And Hashem's prepared for his name to be blotted out, even though that's normally not allowed. As we say, there's a love not to rub out the name of Hashem. Yeah. Nevertheless, Hashem's prepared to let that happen, to allow, if we say shalom bayis, allowed is a proof that nothing happened when she was secluded with this individual. So we'll come back to this Rashi in a second. So Achitophel said, I've got a kal v'chomer. Hashem is prepared for his name to be blotted out. Jonathan, good to see you. We're towards the end of Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, about 5 lines up. We're talking about Achitophel, who said, if the name of Hashem can be blotted out, as we said here, that will be the proof that nothing's happened, and hopefully, therefore, returning back to her original husband. And that will prove her innocence, but it was done. The Torah said, 5 lines up, my name which is written bikdusha, yimoche al hamayim, can be rubbed out on the water. This is to make shalom between ish leishto, just 2 individuals. How much more so, kal v'chomer l'chol ha'olam kulai, the whole world. This is saving everybody, not just shalom bin ishlish, the shalom between everybody in the world. There'll be, as you see, the water was gushing, about to act like a flood everywhere. Lo kolshkein, Omale, he said, sorry. Yes, it's permitted to do this. I've got a kal v'chomer. You certainly can do this. I might have thought maybe for some reason that would not be permitted. But I'm saying I've got a kal v'chomer to prove it's okay. Kosav shame achaspo. So David HaMelech wrote the name of Hashem on this earthenware. Shodi atoiba. Shodi means to throw, and he threw atoiba into the depths. Nochas, it dropped. V'kom aduchte. Presumably it means dropped the water, the level of the water dropped. V'kom aduchte, it stayed in its place where it should be, rather than coming up and engulfing everyone. Full stop. Now we see that Rashi that we stopped in the middle of that Rashi. Uklolo zu bechinom hoisom. This curse was bechinom. Again, what did David say? David said, anyone who knows and doesn't tell me, knows the answer. Can I throw a piece of earthenware with the name of Hashem on it into the depths? Of course, the letters will get rubbed out, blocked. Am I allowed to do that? Anybody who knows and doesn't tell me, he himself, yechonek, will be strangled. Now, presumably, again, it meant strangled because the water would engulf everyone. But it was sounds like the words of a curse. And Rashi says, "Klolo zu bechinam hoyso." Why? Shelo hoyo makalalo elim eina omer. He said, anyone who doesn't tell me whether this is, they know and doesn't come forward. Achitophel did come forward and said, yes, it is permitted. I've got a kal v'chomer to prove it's important. It can be done. In case anybody were to think that maybe it can't, although the initial reaction would have been, of course, you can do anything, can't you, for pikuach nefesh? But in case there would be a reason, as we're saying, unless you know for sure you've got a kal v'chomer or some other reason why it's permitted, I'd like to hear it. Otherwise, David HaMelech would have perhaps done this himself, but he wanted to hear that first, and he did come forward. Continues the Gemara. Va'afilu hochi, even so, Kasiv, there's a posuk where Achitophel had given advice to Avshalom, which was not listened to. Va'achitophel ro kilo ne'esaso atzosai. His advice that he gave was not actually being kept, not being adhered to. Vayachabosh es hachamor, saddled his ass. Vayokom vayelech el beisoi ve'el iroi. Vayetzav es beisoi. Wow. He gave like a commanding, tell them all these final words to his household. And then the Pasuk says, Vayechonek. He actually was strangled, perhaps strangled himself. So this is what happened to him. And yes, of course, his advice wasn't adhered to, and he actually killed himself in this way. But the fact that he did that, some of that is linked to the wording that David HaMelech had said, which rebounded back onto to Achitophel, and therefore he died in this way. Amazing. That's what we're saying. So beware, those words may actually come into fruition if a person says something, anything you say something positive, that's great. A bracha, wonderful. Of course, what one can do, lifting up people's spirits, but not just that. You're talking about the youngsters as well, to give them that confidence, words of confidence, rather than pushing people down. Though words are extremely powerful. And here in this case, just mentioning the word Vayechonek, he will be strangled. In fact, that's exactly what happened to him. Linking the words to what we said before by Yechone. What's very interesting, if I can call upon you, Peter, can you go please to, we've mentioned this before, the Ben Yehoyada. Now, you'll have to go to the search on Sefaria. And let's see if we've got a very interesting shot of this strangling. Why did he commit suicide? Let's go to search, put Ben Yehoyada, Ben. Let's see if it'll come up. Go for it. No, make space and then a Y. Oh, good, excellent. Makot, that's what we want. Ben Yehoyada on Makot. Just by the way, there he is, composed of Yosef Chaim from Baghdad. One of Yosef Chaim. I've got it with yeah, there have been some words about him. Now, although it says we're on Yud Aleph on the Aleph, I think he went to 10b. We've mentioned him before. Wonderful pshatim from Ben Yehoyada. It'll scroll down a bit. Why did he commit suicide? And he'd been giving advice to Avshalom about how to fight against his father. Obviously, that was completely wrong. And obviously felt that what he'd been doing. No, keep scrolling down until we get to Al Gemara. A very interesting piece from the Ben Yehoyada. You'll keep going, scrolling a bit more until here we are, a bit more. By Yechonek. Let's see if we get to that. Just coming up now. Here we are. I don't think you'll find, if you press A, I don't think you'll get a translation of the Ben Yehoyada. I doubt it. Sort with now, they haven't translated this yet. Okay, so we can just press the cross on the right hand side, and that'll take that off because right now. Let's have a look at this. V'yesh lahovin. So what happened? He committed suicide, and the way he committed suicide, based on the words of David HaMelech, that was a link, and that's the way he committed suicide, by strangling himself. Now, yesh lahavin, eich Achitophel shehoya chacham gadol, great wise sage. Yeah. How could he commit suicide? Yes, he'd gone against King David, true, but to commit suicide. V'yesh lahakshis derech halotzo. I think lahakshis here means make a hekesh. You compare rather than ask. You'll see what he says. Alpima she'oma b'sefer. It's brought in brackets here. It's called Sefer Sichas Chulin. That's what that stands for. Shel Talmidei Chachomim. Thank you very much. In brackets there afterwards to tell us a most amazing story here. There was this heretic. You may laugh at this one. Pam bo apikoris lifnei hagon, the Baal Noda b'Yehuda, the great Talmud Chacham, the Noda b'Yehuda, Zichrona livracha, this heretic. V'omaloi, and he said to him, b'derech leitzonos, making fun, poking fun, and he wanted to tell him how great he was in his evil actions. He's worked out Shekol Averos Shebatorah Kavar Over Aleim. In fact, he says he's done every one of the negatives in the Torah. Very proud of himself and telling the Noda, obviously making fun, scoffing. He said, actually, there's one Avera I haven't done, but I'm not keen to do that one. He says, Chutz me Avera Shel Hama'abed Atzmo Ladas. One thing I haven't done, he says, is committed suicide. But everything else that's mentioned in the Torah, which is a negative, I've done them all. Great man he was too. Vayan lo hagoin zichrona lebracha. And the Nodi Behuda said to him, well, of course not. Zos lo tuchal asos. You can't do that. You can't commit suicide. What do you mean, why ever not? Ki ein zu avera legabe ditcha. For you, it wouldn't be an avera to commit suicide. Elo mitzvah. That's actually a positive mitzvah. Why? Look at this. So I'm mentioning this, it's a Purim on its way. Posuk in Devarim, which means blotting out, if you like, evil mikir becha. That's the end of the story. Okay, so the story was what he was saying. There is, in fact, a mitzvah. So, of course, he's not performing mitzvahs, isn't he? So that was the answer, reply that the Nodi Buddha gave to this heretic. So he wants to suggest the following. Yes, that was a story. Yesh loima derech melitza. Could say this, tongue in cheek maybe. The Achitophel ra atzmoi. Achitophel saw himself shehura la'olam, after what he's done against the king, giving advice to Absalom. Indeed, his advice wasn't listened to, but nevertheless, he felt he was extremely evil for that. Lokach choshav, therefore he thought, im ya'abed atzmoi, if he commits suicide, it'll be good for the world to get rid of this great Rasha, ka'ovid mitzvah. Dichsiv, in the same way, uviarato, you should remove bia, like bil chometz, remove hora mikir becha. So that's why he maybe decided to commit suicide. Back to our Gemara. Thank you, Peter. So an interesting story with the Nodi Yehuda. But what we can see from this is the power of speech, and we're linking the two together. Yep. We're linking the two together to say that because those words were mentioned by David HaMelech, that in fact was the way he died, that was linked to it. Maybe he would have committed suicide some other way, but the fact it's linked to David HaMelech's words. So what we're saying here, again, message coming across, be careful not to say anything negative. We always talk about this idea of yiftach peh l'soten. Don't say anything negative. Speak in a positive way rather than saying something negative, particularly about individuals, something negative that could occur. Please keep away from that. And that's the lesson we're learning here. Following on from what we've seen in the Mishnah, the power of tefillah of these mothers, and that we were scared about them because maybe these mothers would be praying for the Kohen Gadol to pass away, and one with the power of speech, the power of prayer, very powerful indeed. And the Gemara goes on with another example. Omer Rav Avohu. He says, Killas Cholchom, again, a curse of a Chacham, Alfilu al Tanai. Now, the previous one was where it wasn't right at all, because there he said, if somebody does not come. And now here, there's a condition attached. Right? Afilu al Tanai he bo'o. Beware, even if there's a condition attached. Another example, Milodon from Eli HaKohen. The story about Eli HaKohen earlier on in the days of Shmuel. De Kol Omale. We'll see. Rashi will mention this in a second. Go through that in a moment. So what with Eli to Ka'omale Eli li Shmuel? Eli said to Shmuel, and let's have a look at this quickly. Shmuel Aleph, Gimel Yud Zayin. Sorry, Peter, just keeping you Keep you busy. Thank you. Shmuel Aleph Gimel Yud Zayin. We have to go. No, if you go back, that's the previous one. Let's go back to Shmuel Aleph. So you may have to go back to text. Go back to text. Let's pick up Tanakh. Let's pick up Shmuel Aleph, Samuel 1 Samuel, if you like. Chapter 3, Pasuk 17. Right. Here we are. Now this is Pasuk 17. Now let's have a look at the previous psukim here. Okay, a little bit earlier. A little bit more, scrolling further up. Here we are. Vayomer Hashem el Shmuel. Actually, we can look at Pasuk 10. Have a look at Pasuk 10. And Hashem came to Shmuel and said, Shmuel, Shmuel. This double lashon, always a lashon of chibah, showing how dear and how close, the closest of Hashem to Shmuel. Vayomer Shmuel daber, ki shomer avdecha. I'm listening. Vayomer Hashem el Shmuel, hinei anochi oseh davar b'Yisrael, asher kol shomer titzileno shtei oznov. That tingling of the ears. Vayomer hu, Pasuk 12, Okim es Eli. I'm going to Okim. Lahokim means to fulfill, as we got here. That I've said to Eli. V'gadati loi. Next Pasuk 13. Ki shofet ani es beisoi ad olam ma'avon asher yoda ki makalelem lohem bono v'lo chihabam. Wow. His sons are behaving. I believe you can will, yeah, okay, but he's not rebuking them the way they're behaving, and he's not rebuking them. And therefore, Pasuk 14, Lochein nishbati lebeis Eli im yiskaper avon beis Eli b'zebach u'mincha dolam. Im means normally in an oath or a promise, that it means won't. They will not be. These people were the height, the sons of Eli HaKohen, and the way they're behaving, stealing, when people were bringing for korbanos, and their general behavior. And sadly, they will not have a kapora, b'zevach u'mincha ad olam, the way they're behaving. Pasuk 15. Vayishkav Shmuel ad habuka vayiftach, and he was a young lad, and he opened the doors. It was Shmuel Yoreh. He didn't want to tell this to Eli. It's Pasuk 16. Vayikra Eli es Shmuel vayomer Shmuel b'nei vaymineni. And Shmuel, we missed that much earlier on. Shmuel says, I keep hearing that Hashem wants to talk to me. So, and Eli tells him, and that was the third case we just saw before, yes, if Hashem wants to talk to you within the nevuah, the great height of your spiritual level, allowing Hashem to speak to you, then you should say, Hashem, tell me, speak. So he did, and he told him that sadly the children of Eli would be passing away. Now, Eli knew that Hashem had been talking to him, because he asked permission from Shmuel. What is he meant to do? Sorry, Shmuel asked from Eli, what should he do if Hashem calls him? And he said, say, fine, that's fine, you're getting a nevuah. Don't hide anything. Wow, very strong words here. May Hashem do to you as he's done to me. V'cho Yosef, that's really what's in those words. Im techached mimeni, if you hide anything from me, mikol hadova shedi be'elecha, from anything that he said to you, don't hide anything. Otherwise, koya so. Actually, in those words, so it means similarly. What happened to you? What's happening to me? And obviously, you can see the way his children were behaving. He didn't hide anything. And the answer Eli gave was, he is Hashem, he will do what seems to be right. So he'd given a curse to Shmuel. And now let's have a look at our psukim here. Back to our Gemara. The last line. He did tell him, Es kol hadvorim ha'eleh, all these things. He kept his side of the bargain. There is a posuk, sadly, when it talks about Shmuel himself. Later, below holchu bonov bidrochov, his sons did not walk in his ways. And part of that, of course, everybody has their own choice, bechira, but nevertheless, it was coming into fruition. Something as well, the wording of Eli that he said, if the same thing should happen to you, he knew what was happening to himself. Ko yaseh Hashem lecha. If you don't tell me, but he did tell him, even so, beware. Have a look at the last Rashi on the page. Afilu al tanai, even with a condition. Beware to say anything negative. V'lo niskayim hatanai. This was a condition. Afal pikein, even so, he bought. It happened. Dohoklolo al tanai hoisa. It was indeed a curse with a condition attached. Im tachached mimeni. If you withhold from me and don't tell me what Hashem told you. V'lo niskayim. That didn't happen. Why? Shelo kichet. He didn't withhold and hold back. Afal pike niskayim ha'klolo. The klolo actually came sadly into fruition. The chsiba holchu bonov bidrochov. V'zu klolo kololoi Eli. This is what Eli said. In fact, you could say even he maybe didn't mean that even intentionally. Koyasa, may Hashem do to you like this, like what?
Koyasa. Is it Koyasa? The Koyosif, maybe that's why, because Koyosif means go even further.
It could be. But the question is that not even saying exactly what he was referring to, but clearly the Nevuah was about his sons, telling them what would happen to them. So it was to do with that Nevuah, negative kavua. If you hold back whatever you want, whatever you're meant to be saying, it should be happening to you. Ko yaseh lecho, whatever you're about to say, if you don't tell me, it will rebound on you. Similarly, I'm saying the same to you. Now, as we say, of course, everybody does have their own bechira, their own choice, but sometimes you need a boost. Everybody goes for a bracha. The words, the powerful words of an individual can come into fruition. And that's what we're saying here, negative or positive. So it's the power of speech and the power, of course, linking to us. And we were talking here about tefillah. Now, there is probably not time to go on to the next Indian here because that's something longer. But if I can call on Peter, if to look at we're speaking here about speech, we're speaking here about the power of tefillah, even negatively, how much more so positively. Now, let's have a look at Maimonides. Always keen to look at Maimonides, the Rambam. But let's have a look what he does. Actually, that's not the main point he's saying in this piece. Let's have a look, please. If you bring up Sefaria Let's put up there. If you can put up in the search engine Rambam. RAM. Hello there, Michael.
Hi.
Have a look. Hi. Hello there. Have a look, Peter. If you put it on the screen for us, Safari, put up the screen that says search Rambam. Oh, there we are. There we are. Hold on a minute. No, press the Rambam where it says Rambam. Just up, down, up, down. Whoa, at the Rambam. That's Maimonides, Ben Maimon. Press it, and what do we get? There we are. We know all about the Rambam. Incredibly. Now, what do we want to go to? Scroll down. A huge amount the Rambam wrote. Incredible. Let's have a look at the Mishnah Torah, please. Up. Mishnah Torah, legal code written in the 12th century. Unbelievable. Now, we want negative mitzvahs. He goes through all the mitzvahs. And then the end, he talks about adding mitzvahs. Scroll right to the end. What's the last one on that list? What number? There we are. Go to 369 for us first. Oh, yeah. It's talking about... Whoa, a bit of sound. I've got some feedback. Is that me? Maybe, Peter, if you put everybody on mute, might help. Okay. Have a look at 369. Where the Rambam is actually talking about adding mitzvahs. And of course, adding mitzvahs is forbidden. Some people will say, we've got the 613. It's forbidden to add mitzvahs. And what the Rambam's tackling here is, Avalim Hosifu Bezdin, if the Bezdin add, together with maybe a Novi, Shiur be'osas ma mitzvah derech takona, a remedy, or as a lesson, derech haror, to teach people things, or derech gezerah, maybe as a fence, ein zu tosefes. So the Rambam clearly, in the last halacha of the negative mitzvahs of the Maimonides, one of them is lo sosif. You cannot add 613. You cannot add, you can't remove, you cannot add mitzvahs. However, if those mitzvahs are placed, as we say, derech haror, to teach, fences, takona, that's not considered an addition. Shaharei lo omru, those rabbis are not saying Sha'akodesh Baruch Hu tziva lases, or it could be Eruv, or Likros Megillah, but also just an example he mentions. The ilu omru came, if however they would say there's a mitzvah min Torah to hear the Megillah, as an example, they're adding, but they don't do that. These mitzvahs, the Rabbanon, they're saying we are adding things for various reasons. It is not one of the 613. They are not 614, 15, 16 mitzvahs, and therefore that is not considered a hisopa. Fine. He just mentions this en passant. Look at the 370. This is the very last halacha in this section about going through all the 365 mitzvahs, negative mitzvahs. Ella, just to continue, kach onu omrim. This is what we say. Sha'navim, those prophets of the time of the prophets, in Bezdin, together with the Bezdin, Tiknu, have instituted the Tzivu. For example, just give an example here, but amazing, from this example, we get a glimpse of what the mitzvah of Megillah is all about. The Tzivu Likros HaMegillah Ba'onosa in its right time. Kedei, it's a lessons. Kedei lahazkir, to mention Shavochov Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the praise of Hashem. This is the Rambam. Useshuas, and the Yeshua, salvation, She'osolonu. That's what it's all about. That's why we're laning Kriyas Megillah. And that's indeed why we have this mitzvah of Purim itself. This is very powerful. This is the amazing. Maimonides writing this. He was close to our cries, and we do this to bless and praise Hashem, and also it's there, the mitzvah of Megillah. Amazing. He's only mentioning, as I say, en passant, to just give you an example, that the mitzvah of Megillah, what the reason is for. But I say he's really just not focusing on Megillah so much as to tell us that this is something that the Chachomim can do and add mitzvahs, to make known to the generations haboim, the future generations, she'emes. It's absolutely true what the Torah promises. Is there such a great nation that has Hashem so close? In which way? Very important. The rest of that pasuk says, "B'chol koreinu elov." B'chol koreinu elov. When we cry, notice if we're all crying together, if there's achdus, as there was at the time of Esther, remember she asked for everybody to come together and pray, then wow, what strength we've got. And then the Rambam just concludes, in the same way, he kol mitzvah midivrei sofrim. If in fact it is a rabbinic mitzvah, if there's a good reason why they're adding that mitzvah, and they're saying they're doing it for a particular purpose, and they're saying it's not one of the 613, it is not min HaTorah, then that is fine. But notice he said it's got to be the rabbis together with prophets. Now, we don't have any prophets, so that we cannot add anything at the moment. But that's what we're saying. And at the same time, he explains to us the power of Purim. It's say, mi goy godol. What a great nation. The whole Korein Elov, when we're calling to him, that Hashem listens to us. So it's praise to Hashem, and also lifting up about Klal Yisrael. Can you now go to the search, please? I think it's on here. Now scrub that. Write in the word. Oh, I sent you something, please, Peter. Let's put that up first, and then we'll close. I sent you something, not the Gemara. I said, oh yeah, that's the one. If you can, make it as wide as you can for us, as large as you can for us. View, let's make it a bit larger. Zoom. Ooh, zoom. Let's go up to, I don't know, whatever you think is suitable. Oh, that's good. Perfect. Just want to mention something from the great Tzvi Hirsch Kedanova. Kedanova died there, you are 1650 to 1712. Native of Vilna, and he wrote the sefer called the Kav HaYoshar. We'll see. So it talks a little bit about him. Yeah, you've got dates there. Interesting. His yahrzeit is on Shushan Purim in the year 1712. That's well before the Vilna Gaon. He was a son of Rabbi Yosef, all these things about him. Teaching consider influence his pupils, spreading a Kabbalistic trend of his studies. And then he followed more closely his father. Keep going with his whole family. They were thrown into prison on account of he was a base, which wasn't true, and was forced until he was pardoned. His son being retained in prison, fearing another in prison. Then he went to Frankfurt. He recovered from the trial. There you are, published other things. He wrote also this book on morals entitled Kav HaYoshar. The combination of this and here, it was passed through the numbers and his book contains 102 chapters, commenting on the miracle of Kav. And Hayosha is an anagram of his own name, Hirsch. Hirsch also made use of his work. Very nice too, thank you. A similar book written by his son-in-law, but very early. He died in Frankfurt, as we say, 23rd of March, but he was buried in Frankfurt. So let's go back. So here we are, Tzvi Hirsch. Let's go to the top of the page. Tzvi Hirsch, there we are. Kedanova. I don't even know how you pronounce that last word. He's normally called Tzvi Hirsch. I don't know. Now, if you can go back to Safari, we'll close with this. As we were talking before about the Rambam and what he mentions about Purim. If we can go back to, now go back in the search. Let's put in Kav, K-A-V, K-A-V, not D, V for Victor. Kavayosha, there we are. Go to Kavayosha. Double click. There we are. Author Tzviish composed. Oh, it's got it there. Popular music, 105. Yeah, it was, he said I died there. Covered very good. Now let's go to what I want to pick up here. You remember the 102 chapters? No. Let's have a look at chapter 97, please. It's not going to be translated, can't be. Well, it could be, but yeah, there we are. Or maybe it is. Try pressing A and see what happens. To press the A on top, on the right-hand side. Let's see if it's translated. Sort through translation, let's see. Yes. Let's go for both. Source with translation. Thank you. So we got translation as well. Scroll down. It's all about Tanis Esther. It's all about Purim generally. Beautiful words there. You can look it up if you want to. But scroll down. Talking about the words and the power of words. Quite a long way scrolling. I'm sorry. Keep scrolling. Yeah, it's not the next section. It's a section after that, I think. Right. It's all about Mordechai and Esther. Next one. I think it's in this section. I just want to pick up. Hold on. See, no, we don't need all that. I mean, it's beautiful what he writes about. Keep scrolling. If that's the right word. I think it's in this section. Oh, here we are. So, the idea of coming together, that's the lessons we learn from Megillas Esther. Remember Esther calling everybody together? Now, let's pick this up. Oh, here we are. Beginning line is Hakneses. Move the arrow to the left. Up. There it is, Hakneses. The Yom Tanis Esther is talking about Tanis Esther, which is tomorrow. Ki Yom Zeh, this is the Kabayosha writing. Very powerful words here. Hu Mesugul Ma'oid, just like they, on that day, all those years ago, on the 13th, they gathered together. This is actually, of course, this, Sheyekubal Tefilosenu B'schus Mordechai ve'Esther. Really, we have Tanis Esther as a memory of all the tefillahs of Mordechai and Esther. This is very powerful. V'chol shetzorich rachamim al ezeh dovor, looking for mercy. Shu tzorich lispalel. And everyone has things that they need to be doubling for. Yikach manai, take some time. La'atzmo biyom Tanis Esther. Because that was the power of prayer. V'yoma techila, first of all, say Mizbach of base, Tehillim chapter 22, which starts, is talking about Ayeles HaShachar. V'doshu Rabbeinu, our Rabbi has explained, Zichronim Levocha, blessed memory. The Esther Hoysa Nikras Hayeles HaShachar, that was her name too. Yeah. So say that chapter. V'achar kach yishpoich sichoi, pour out his speech, Lifnei Hashem. V'yavakish bakoshosoi, v'yazchir zchus Mordechai ve'Esther. Zchus of Mordechai ve'Esther. This is what it's all about, and especially as we saw in the Rambam, that the whole importance of Purim itself is to show the power of prayer. Asher b'zchusam yei oselo, he should be answered. HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'yiftach lo sharei rachamim. So the gates of rachamim, of mercy, will be opened. Usukubal tefilo soy beratzon, so that his tefillah should be accepted, but rotzon. So there we are from the Kabayosha. extremely widely read. It's been printed so many times. Thank you, Peter. Let's go back to some faces. So the Kava Yosha, if you want to follow that up, you can do. But just the importance, especially with that Rambam, everybody, we always concentrate on Maimonides with his philosophy and everything else. But those very strong words about what Purim is all about, to the power of prayer, and it links up to what we're learning about. As we said, negatively and positively, but let's talk about the positive side, the power of prayer, and countless stories around here, and probably everywhere else as well, but incredible stories that one hears here about the power of prayer, and therefore we should take that opportunity, as we've got tomorrow, say for Tanis Esther, especially for the idea of the prayers of Mordechai and Esther when they gathered together, all of them, everybody gathering together, and of course the idea of the Achdus, calling everybody together. We do like this, of course, as part of it, Kochenu ba'Achdus. If we're all together, that's something we can also be praying for, that there should be this harmony, unity within the community, within Klal Yisrael generally. If we had all of that together with our prayers, how powerful they would be. But as you see from the Kava Yosha, any individual and who hasn't got things they can be praying for, we should be taking that opportunity tomorrow. And together with that, we then move on to hopefully a beautiful, enjoyable Purim. We should have, enjoy the Purim. On Purim, those people in Yerushalayim with the triple spread over 3 days, Purim this year. But with all of that, yes, let's hope for Besuras Tovus all round. And our tefillah should, as we say, Tekabel Baracha Mimrotanes Tefilloseinu. And with that, Peter, we turn to you for capital, as we say, not 22, but 120 coming up. Yeah, not 22, that's a Yeres HaShachar. That's the one mentioned in the Kava Yosha. But Shir Malus, so over to you, Peter. Shir Lamalos.
So el Horim Me'yavo Esuri Esri Me'im Adonai Osei Shomayim V'Oretz Al-Yidei Rakecho Al-Yanu Shomerecho Hinei Lo Yanun V'Lo Yishon Shomei Yisrael Adonai Shomerecho Adonai Serucho Yad Yiminecho Yom Hashem Yakecho V'Yorei Aleinu Adonai Yishmerecho Mikol Ra Adonai Yishmerecho Me'atov Yadolom
Achenu kol beis Yisrael Matzoro Tivyo Oim Dim Bein Bayom Bein Bayabosha Mokim Merachim Alehem Yotzim Mitzoro Yirvocho Me'afelu Le'olam Yishibu Legula Hashno Ba'agolo Uvizman Korivano Amen. Everybody should have a very enjoyable Besuras Tovus and throughout.